Good morning. My name is Tim Ruggieri, principal of Triton High School. On behalf of the faculty and administration of Triton, I am happy to welcome the parents, guardians, relatives, and friends of our graduates to the class of 2018 commencement ceremony. We request that everyone remain in their seats during the entire ceremony in order to extend every courtesy to all in attendance. Thank you for understanding and respecting our wishes. It is a distinct honor and great pleasure to present to you the graduates of the class of 2018. Please take off your hats and remain standing for the national anthem.
Who's doing it? Are you doing it? Who's doing it?
At this time, I ask all of us to observe a moment of silence in memory of the members of our armed forces who have lost their lives in service and those that serve our nation today. Thank you. Audience may be seated.
I would like to introduce our guests for today's ceremony and ask them to briefly rise when their name is announced. The chairperson of the Triton Regional School Committee, Miss Narissa Wallen. And members of the school committee joining us today, Miss Monique Grelich, Mr. Paul Lees, Miss Linda Litovsky, and Miss Maureen Heffernan. I would like to recognize the selectmen from our towns. From Newbury, Mr. Jeffrey Walker, Miss Alicia Greco. From Raleigh, Mr. Robert Mary, Mr. Joseph Perry. From Salisbury, Mr. Charles Takesian. And Miss Ronale Ray Parrott. I would like to recognize the Massachusetts State Representatives, the Honorable Lenny Mira, and the Honorable Bradford Hill. I would like to recognize the School District Central Office Administrators, Mr. Brian Forget, Superintendent of Schools, Ms. Kim Crotu, Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Michelle Cresta, School Business Administrator,
It wasn't on the right page. It is with both pride and respect that we acknowledge the faculty, staff, and the administrators from the high school, the middle school, and each of our elementary schools present today at our graduation. We now ask our fellow graduates and all of our guests to join us in applauding these professionals, our teachers and staff, for their competence and dedication. Now we will hear remarks from our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Forget.
I first just want to pause and say that we also have Senator Bruce Tarr, who is here as well. If you can please stand. I'm going to try and hold on to this with the wind. Good morning, everyone. To the graduates, families and friends, faculty and staff, school committee members, local and state representatives, welcome. My sincere congratulations to all the graduates on the many years of work that has gotten you to this point. As you sit here today and reflect on all that you've accomplished, there's a great deal for you to be proud of. All of the learning, the growing, succeeding, failing, and learning again have brought you here today. While you can rest in the knowledge that much has been done, it is likely impossible for you to ignore what is yet to come. Whether you have chosen the path of college, advanced training, full-time employment, military service, each of you is embarking on a new season in your life. In thinking about these paths, I'd like to pause for a moment and recognize those on a specific trajectory. There are 6 members of the class of 2018 who have committed to entering the armed forces in some capacity. Could those students please stand when I call your name? Stephen Bayardi will be entering the Air Force ROTC at UMass Amherst. Gabrielle Dussault will be attending the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. Andrew Burns and Dylan Lannon will be enlisting in the Army. Ethan Kimball will be joining the U.S. Coast Guard. And Garrett Savage will be enlisting with the Navy. Thank you all for your commitment to service. One more round of applause. Yes. To the graduates, it has been one heck of a year. As you think back on your final year here in the Triton schools, you'll be able to remember fondly the headaches that Mother Nature gave us that required me to close our schools for more days than any other in recent history. Given that our graduation date stays the same regardless of the final day, your senior year was the shortest by total school days of any class we could find on record. My personal gift to the class of 2018. Beyond the wild weather, this has been a year that has been a banner one for many other reasons, including political turmoil, conflict, and instability on both the domestic and international stage. Mass shootings and a tidal wave of high-profile figures are being required to answer for bad behavior. The tone of both local and national conversation has grown even more bitter, more aggressive, and more divisive than in the past. And sadly, it does not seem to be a trend that is slowing or improving. The advancements in current technology and its uses have broadened, strengthened, and catalyzed communication in countless ways, while at the same time, I believe, have crippled genuinely healthy and vibrant dialogue, adding to that toxic climate. However, today I want to steer away from what can seem unendingly difficult and complicated in order to focus on something far more worthy of our attention. I want to talk about hope. Yes, hope. And most pertinent to our time together today, I'm speaking of the hope that resides in each of the seats in front of me, the class of 2018. Amidst the often terrifying, horrifically sad, and disheartening stories we're consuming each day, a new narrative is emerging as your generation is finding its rightful voice in the national and international conversation. Last year, my remarks at graduation could be simply summarized in 3 words. Communication is everything. In the last 365 days since I stood here speaking to the class of 2017, that statement has not only become more true, but I would argue it has become even more essential. As you walk out these doors today and begin the next phase of your life, you are entering a world where your ability to effectively engage and communicate will be the difference between a track of further degradation in our nation's collective discourse and a track that leads to actual and effective change. Regardless of your political orientation, the language you speak, or the zip code where you live, your ability to effectively communicate is the #1 determinant of your impact in this world. How you interact with others, how you defend truth, whether you choose to dialogue to engage or dialogue to destroy, and whether you value the primacy of artful and respectful discourse more than you value crushing your own argument. All of these will determine whether the sum effect of your contribution going forward is either productive or destructive, hopeful or toxic. I believe that an essential part of communication is being lost in this current climate. Effective dialogue is a two-way street, and I fear we're forgetting how to listen. If you're speaking without listening, there can be no understanding. And if there isn't understanding, then the purpose of dialogue has been reduced to hearing our own voice and only tolerating hearing the other long enough to re-enter that one-sided conversation and continue undeterred. As Henry David Thoreau wrote, it takes 2 to speak the truth, 1 to speak and the other to hear it. There has never been a person who was effective at changing the world alone. Working together requires that we listen. Everyone here has likely heard the reminder, we have one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. It's a concept that has been used by philosophers, marketing firms, and perhaps even a frustrated parent or two. This notion suggests that we should be listening twice as much as we speak. But as most of us can attest, our mouths, some of us, me included more than others, can often be significantly larger than our ears. Graduates, I encourage and challenge you to choose character over approval. Choose integrity over expediency, and truth over notoriety. Remember that you have an individual, unique voice, and our world needs it more than ever. Remember that it's not about volume, and certainly not about frequency. It's about accuracy, truth, and the value of what you choose to use your voice for. And I might also add that while a solo voice can be a singularly impressive thing, there is quite nothing like the chorus of complementary voices working together. Let your voice be one of truth, one of integrity, and one of hope. Members of the class of 2018, you've done great things, and you've left your mark here at Triton and on Viking Nation. But I believe the best is still yet to come for you. Good luck. I wish you success in everything you put your heart and your minds to. Thank you. At this time, I'm privileged to introduce our guest alumni speaker. Continuing with a tradition that began last year, the class of 2018 participated in a voting process to determine their guest speaker for today. We're honored to have, and I'm pleased to introduce, Ms. Bethany Emerson Durkee, Triton class of 2007.
Gotta get this thing to the right page. I wanted to start by thanking the selection committee for giving me this opportunity today, and Triton Arts for sharing the link on Facebook to apply. And congratulations to the class of 2018 for making it all the way. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you are good at something? Come on, I expect to see all those hands up. I don't care if it's academics, a sport, hair and makeup, picking the best Snapchat filter, hiding things from your parents. Okay. I acknowledge that I am good at a handful of things. I am good at math and explaining concepts to other people. I am good at singing. I am good at making chicken tacos in under 20 minutes. But most importantly, and the main topic of this speech, is that I am good at making a mean Excel spreadsheet. I'm just kidding. That's terribly boring, and that was actually my first draft. Anyway, I used to be a person who strived for perfection from the outset. That type of mentality is mentally and physically exhausting. But in the last 11 years since I sat in your seat, I have shifted my views and seen what kind of opportunities present themselves because of it. When I was a sophomore in college, I was applying for my first co-op job. Co-ops are like internships during school, but you take whole semesters off to work full-time and complete your degree in 5 years. I wrote and revised my resume, applied to multiple jobs that I wasn't qualified for, and finally landed an interview at an engineering company. As I sat there, sweating, shaking, wearing a suit coat with shoulder pads, my top concern was whether I was good enough for the job, whether my skills were up to par with what they were looking for. I found out later, they really only looked at two things when deciding whether to hire me. Not what I knew, not what I was good at, not my 4.0 GPA, but they looked at my attitude and how my resume was jam-packed with extra classes and activities that showed that I was willing to try new things. As they were asking me questions, I tried my best to keep the attitude of, man, I don't know a lot about that, but I am willing to learn and get better. Here I am, 9 years and 3 promotions later, still working for the same company, still learning and still getting better, and helping others to be better too. I continued to apply this attitude, this striving for not perfection, but constant improvement throughout my studies. When my year-long senior capstone project failed miserably in March, due in April, the biggest lesson wasn't that it didn't work and that I had screwed up. It was that I learned something from the process, and would improve upon it next time. Instead of packing it in, I used that experience to change how I approached design meetings and large projects, and it made me not perfect, but certainly better than I was. I went on to get my master's degree and started teaching part-time at Merrimack College, where this concept of incremental improvement proved necessary more than ever. I went into the class on my first day with my rose-colored glasses, expecting that I would be the perfect teacher with everything prepped and ready to go for the semester. But things change. Schedules change. Snow days happen. Students change. My way of explaining something proves helpful one day and completely useless the next. Instead of taking those hardships and giving up or trying the same thing next time, I dedicated myself to improvement, to writing and rewriting notes, assignments, and exams. I encourage my students in the same way to do test corrections, where they can pass in the problem and the corrected solution, but most importantly, explain where they went wrong and what they will change to do better next time. I am also a wife, and most recently a mother. And let me tell you, incremental improvement is the absolute best I can hope for on any day. And telling myself that I know I will do better tomorrow can help soften the blows of today. The next time that you are asked to do a task, fill out this report, attend this meeting, mow this lawn, make your bed. Sure, you can do these things. You could probably do them with your eyes closed, make it good enough, and move on. But it's the attitude to approaching any task, class assignment, job, apprenticeship, request, that makes you stand out from the crowd, not just that you accomplish the task as assigned. Take what you're given, look for where it can be improved. Learn from your mistakes, from your peers' mistakes, and improve upon the process. Add some crisscross designs to that lawn. Toss in an extra throw pillow. Make it better and make yourself better. It might make you feel comfortable to do the things that you are good at, to accept that you're good at something and leave it there. It might even make you feel good to be better than your peers at something. But a true measure of success, or propensity for success, is how you approach the things that you are good at and the things that you are bad at. Address them in the same manner. The question isn't, am I good at this? Or even, is this good enough? The question is, am I better than I was yesterday? And will I be better still tomorrow? What can I do to make myself better? To make this task easier? To make this product better? To make the lives of those around me better too? Don't settle for good. Don't settle for great. Don't even settle for extraordinary. Strive for continuous and consistent improvement, day over day, and the best opportunities will come knocking at your door. This quote is attributed to Saint Jerome, the patron saint of scholars like you. Good, better, best, never let it rest, until your good is better and your better is best. Thank you.
We will now listen to an instrumental selection performed by our high school band. honor speaker is the student with the second highest grade point average, Haley Catherine Morgan. As salutatorian, Haley's theme will be the past.
Good morning, fellow graduates of the class of 2018, Triton faculty, family, and friends. I would like to start off with a huge congratulations to all the graduates for being here today, and a sincere thank you to everyone who helped us get here. This day is about all of us, so here's a story about myself. Over the last year, like clockwork every Tuesday night, my mom asked me if I want to join her. I spent months saying no because it didn't immediately strike me as the environment that would result in the most fun that I could be having. There surely would be better plans that came along for that Tuesday night. Just because it wasn't the absolute best, most epic thing I could have done with a Tuesday night, that doesn't mean I should have said no. So many of us turn down opportunities because we're holding out for the right one to turn up. We expect something so great that everything else seems rejectable. Not every opportunity and experience has to be amazing in and of itself to build an amazing life. Friday night football games are one of these things. For some of us, they're exactly where we want to be, wouldn't have it any other way. But there were Fridays where I thought I didn't really want to go, or I didn't want to go back, or it was too cold, and I thought I could figure out something better to do. The experience wasn't going to be picture perfect, so maybe I skipped it altogether. But looking back, I don't ever regret going to a game. Even if it was freezing cold and a dozen of us shared one blanket, or if it was a blowout loss, or if we got incredibly lost on the drive to a playoff game. It was still a worthwhile experience with some pretty great people. So yes, that's entirely cliche, but it's usually true. It's hard to come up with an event that I regret going to over the past 4 years, and I would bet that not many of you can either. But then think, what night did I skip that I wish I had been at? Maybe you missed Eric singing and Anthony dancing at Mr. THS. Or maybe you weren't there the night the bleachers broke, or you didn't get to decorate the homecoming bleachers and see how they improved over our 4 years. Maybe you never got kicked out of the library, even though the odds of that are slim. Sure, we can't go to everything, and we can't say yes to everything, but we can make a conscious effort to take better advantage of the times that we're given to be together. Because the things that we'll remember aren't the days that we spent in class, but messing around in the back lot when it was frozen over, getting kicked out of every port game in the last 5 minutes, or getting covered in flour when Katie decided that would be a good thing to throw in a crowd, or every time the hallway flooded. Whether it's the crowd at a field hockey game, the people at your lunch table, or your spin group in math, we've been given chances to make connections with people that we wouldn't necessarily pick out from a crowd. And most of the time, these arbitrary groups of people and the events that we choose to go to on a whim create the most meaningful experiences. When I finally caved and went to trivia with my mom, mostly because it included a meal at Michael's Harborside, it was so much fun, and I didn't know a single answer to any questions. But the experience was worthwhile because I was surrounded by people that I wouldn't normally be around, and I gave it a real chance. I went to trivia for months straight, crashing my mom's social life the way any of us would be annoyed with if our parents did it to us. And I wouldn't have it any other way. This same story can be applied to so many experiences in high school. It's so easy to say no and stay at home watching Netflix, watching the days count down to graduation, looking forward to the future so much that we forget it's possible to stop and enjoy the ride there. We've all elected to skip a part of high school because we thought, life isn't like the movies and I won't miss out on anything too great. But you wouldn't know unless you participated. So let the past be a lesson, and from the times you've skipped an experience in hopes for a better one to come along, or failed to live in the moment because it wasn't the moment you had pictured, an imperfect experience is better than none at all. And I think it's safe to say that Triton is one of the most perfectly imperfect experiences we'll get to have. We will now listen to a choral selection performed by our Triton singers.
I hope the days come easy and the moments pass slow, and each road leads you where you want to go. And if you're faced with a choice and you have to choose, I hope you choose the one that means the most to you. And if one door opens to another door closed, I hope you keep on walking till you find the window. If it's cold the world the warmth of your smile. But more than anything, more than anything, my wish for you is that this life becomes all that you want it to. Your dreams stay big, your worries stay small. You never need to carry more than you can hold. And while you're out there getting where you're getting to, I hope you know somebody loves you and wants the same things too. Yeah, this is my wish. I hope you never look back, but you never forget all the ones who loved you and the place you left. I hope you always forgive and you never regret, and you help somebody every chance you get. Oh, you find God's grace in every mistake and always give more than you take. So more than anything, more than anything, my wish for you is that this life becomes all that you want it to. Your dreams stay big, your worries stay small. You never need to carry more than you can hold. And while you're out there getting where you're getting to, I hope you know somebody loves you and wants the same things too. Yeah, this is my wish. This life becomes all that you want it to. Your dreams stay big, your worries stay small. You never need to carry more than you can hold. And while you're out there getting where you're getting to, I hope you know somebody loves you and wants the same things too. Yeah, this is my wish. Wish for you. I hope you know somebody loves you. I wish for you. May all your dreams stay big. I wish for you. This is my wish.
Our second honor speaker is the student with the highest grade point average over 4 years, the valedictorian of the class of 2018, Hannah Joy Bird. As valedictorian, Hannah's theme will be the future.
Good morning. I would of course like to begin with a few thank yous. Thank you to every teacher and all other Triton faculty member for providing us with so much guidance over the past 12 years. Thank you to the parents and the guardians who have supported our endeavors and have shown us endless love as we have grown. Thank you to all members of the class of 2018 and anyone else present today that will or has committed themselves to the military. We thank you for your service. The topic that all Triton valedictorians are assigned is the future. As I've been given this largely open platform in front of all of you today, I decided that I wanted to leave my classmates with words on one of the most important perspectives that I have adopted over the past few years, one on people, on the world, and on life, in hopes that you will be able to carry it with you into the future. Although by this point, I'm sure that many of you are zoning out, I encourage you to listen for just a few more minutes. While I have little confidence that these words will change your life, I am hopeful that they will, at the very least, leave you with an idea to ponder. Now, I don't mean to be cliche, but the best piece of advice that I received as a teenager happens to be from a young adult fiction author, John Green. You know, the guy that wrote that book we were all obsessed with in 8th grade with the metaphors and the cancer and the infinities. Okay? Okay. 3 words. Imagine others complexly. It sounds simple, but it isn't. To imagine others complexly requires a shift in a rigid mindset. It requires forcing yourself to think in a way that is not necessarily innate. And when I say imagine, I don't mean dream. I mean forcing your mind out of its comfort zone as you really try to understand the perspective through which others may experience the world. I would like to share with you a quote from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, the definition of Sonder. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own, populated with their own ambitions, friends, routines, worries, and inherited craziness. An epic story that continues invisibly around you, like an anthill sprawling deep underground. Like an anthill sprawling deep underground, with elaborate passageways to thousands of other lives that you'll never know existed, in which you might appear only once, as an extra, sipping coffee in the background, as a blur of traffic passing on the highway, or as a lighted window at dusk. The truth is, humans can be selfish. It's natural, it's evolutionary. Your instinct is to first and foremost protect yourself. You see the world through your eyes and your eyes only. All other ideas and perspectives must be heard in discussion, read on a page, or seen from a distance. While you're the star of your own story, you're a supporting character in thousands of others, merely an extra in billions more. An interesting thought to consider. The realization may cause some to feel small, the same feeling that may arise from staring into the night sky and realizing each fuzzy blue light is a solar system much like our own in an infinite universe. And when we're stressed in our own lives, it's difficult, to say the least, to remind yourself that everyone around you is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. Your sister, your teacher, your roommate next year, the classmate sitting next to you, and that person who messed up your dunks order this morning, they're just as complex as you. When we consciously decide to think beyond the mindset that focuses only on ourselves, the one that is automatic, we stop being complacent. I have chosen to adopt this mindset, and I hope you will too. I have chosen to embrace the grandeur of existence, to embrace the immensity and intricacies of the world and to try to understand it, to think loudly and live vibrantly, to accept that although we are small, we possess an ability to think complexly. In a world where so many conversations begin with confrontation, I cannot overemphasize the importance of trying to deeply imagine others. Recently, I watched a talk by psychologist Steven Pinker in which he addressed the question, is the world getting better or worse? It feels worse, sometimes. Every time we turn on our televisions or open Twitter on our phones, we see a new headline that somehow is worse than yesterday's. It's not at all hard to look back at recent years and conclude that, put bluntly, the world is going to, well, you know. In this talk, Pinker looks at decades of data as to treat the previously stated question as an unbiased hypothesis. As someone who loves numbers and graphs, this made a lot of sense to me, but don't worry, I'm not going to turn this into some boring PowerPoint presentation. But how can we determine if the world is becoming a better place? We can consider universally positive factors like health, happiness, peace, prosperity, safety, leisure, freedom, and knowledge. For most of recorded time, life expectancy stayed around 30 years old. Today, worldwide, it's about 70. That rises to over 80 in the most developed countries. Child mortality has gone from the over 30% that it was 250 years ago to a mere 6% today in the poorest of countries. 200 years ago, 90% of the world's population suffered through extreme levels of poverty. Today, fewer than 10% worldwide are subject to that life. Moreover, 86% of countries in the world boasted increased average happiness in recent decades. The data says, and I would too, that the world is getting better. As I consider the entirety of known history, I can say without any doubt that there's no time I'd rather live in than now. I like hot showers and air conditioning and instant communication and Netflix. And while we are nostalgic for the past, where we remember life as more genuine, we must acknowledge that the mind alters reality to remember to create an idea of the past that supports the ideology which you have built your worldview around. And such alterations inhibit accurate remembrance. In simpler language, you remember the events, people, and feelings that you want to remember. We can still retweet only 90s/early 2000 kids remember memes on Twitter and reminisce about elementary school and Finsta and carry with us the memories from the past few years. But we should not let our nostalgia keep us from embracing the future, a future that is in our control. Yes, no one can predict the future. We see this time and time again. I think back to the 2016 election or the dozens of times over a lifetime that the world was supposedly going to end. We can't predict the future, but we can control our lives. We can control what we choose to say and what we choose to do. We can control how we choose to talk and how we choose to treat others. We can control how we think and what we collectively will pursue. We can decide to go into the world complacent and accept life for the way it is. Or we can decide to utilize the power that we have each been given to voice our ideas and to collaborate to continue to make a better world. Modern problems, medical, environmental, nuclear, are problems to be solved, not to be avoided as a result of fear. We must choose to confront the world. We must choose to embrace the future, and we must choose to imagine complexly. If there's one thing I've learned from 6 years of English at Triton, it's that utopias never work out. Well, that and to never start an essay with Webster's dictionary definition. Our goal should not be to construct a perfect world, for that's entirely infeasible. I personally classify myself as an optimist, but also a realist. I believe in human kindness and good intentions, and that we will continue to progress, but I do not try to ignore the fact that conflict will never cease to exist. Our goal should be to try to understand why we are the way we are, how we can march into the future with fervent passion for whatever energizes your soul, and how we can all use those passions to create something great. We are a class of artists, athletes, engineers, entrepreneurs, innovators, and intellectuals. I am so proud of our class, for as I look out at all of you, I am positive that you are all capable of great things. So whether you're going to UMass Amherst, UMaine, or USC next year, whether you're going into the military, taking a gap year, or going right into the workforce, speaking of which, I still need a suburb job, so you can talk to me after I get my diploma about that. Pursue your passion. If you don't know it yet, go out and find it. You are so lucky to be alive here at this point in time, where each of you has the power to influence the world through your voice, work, or day-to-day actions. Your opportunities are limited to only what you can imagine, so imagine deeply and imagine brightly. Please never forget that you can control the way that you and we experience life. Class of 2018, thank you, congratulations, and good vibes.
I now ask Mr. Ruggieri and my fellow officers of the class of 2018 to join me at the podium. Charles Awarda, Stephen Biardi, Sophia D. Simone, Taylor Penniman, Danielle West, and myself, as we present the class gift.
The senior class will be donating money for the renovation of the lunchroom courtyard.
That's a perfect idea, and I graciously accept. Thank you all very much. At this time, I call upon Narissa Wallen, the chairperson of the school committee, to award diplomas to the class of 2018. She will be assisted in the distribution by Mr. Forget and senior class advisors, Miss Erin Dempsey and Miss Aimee Mansfield.
Hannah Joy Bird. Haley Catherine Morgan. Charles John Awerda. Stephen Thomas Biardi. Gabrielle Marie Dussault. Sophia Rosa DeSimone. Taylor Marie Penniman. Danielle Paone West. Sydney Annis Acamando.
Chloe Elizabeth Allard. Cameron Jude Arena. Jessica Michelle Atkinson.
Congratulations, Karen. Thank you, sir.
Amy Nicole Azevedo. Alessandra Basil. Matthew Chase Lewin. Christopher Shepard Brennan. Colin Fleming Brennan. Andrew Scott Burns.
Elizabeth St. John Caldwell. Kate Elizabeth Carter. Liam Michael Cashman. Peter Alfred Sinsulo. Zoe Hagan Sassati. Samuel Paul Chapman. Jamie Lynn Cimitaro. Janie Dawn Kohlberg. Abigail Ann Confalone.
Lucas Matthew Knatzer. Joseph Rocco Conti. Kelly Ann Corbin. Julia Elizabeth Cordeau. Cody Charles Crocker. Joshua Matthew Darcy. Jonah Matthew Vitello Davis. Dylan Thomas D'Angelico. Colin Jeffrey Dennis.
Matthew Augustus Dotato. Morgan Blake Dexter. Olivia Rose Doan. Afia Marie Donahue. Aiden Rocco Dragani. Jared Matthew Druin. David Evan Durante. Jared Joseph Durkin. Kendra Elizabeth Enos.
Brandon William Eppa. Henrik Jürgen Ernst. Samantha Lee Falzone. Hannah Elizabeth Farewell. Ryan Daniel Farrell. Alexander Michael Fecto. Justin David Flodman. Amelia Lorraine Flynn. Eric William Fournier.
Jacob William Gabriel. Colin Matthew Gansenmuller. May Elizabeth Gansenmuller. Liam Thomas Gay Colleen. Alden Shea Dedritis. Matthew Robert Godbout. Christina Marie Gordon. Sean Michael Greeny. Emily Hope Greenberg.
Luke Riley Groder. Gunnar David Gustafson. Alexandra Jane Hall. Benjamin Patrick Hall. Logan Taylor Hart. Kara Deborah Hartman. Sorry. Owen Patrick Heffernan.
Big ol' hug. Gotta give your mama.
Joseph Rini Heil, Jr. Joshua Dylan Hemmerdinger.
Sean Patrick Hurdle. Savannah Rose Hopkinson.
I'm the door, the key can here.
Cameron Arthur Howe. Johan Shiwei Shea. Theodore Shuning Shea. Malia Patrice Halbert. Megan Rose Jacobs. Tyler Ivan Jacobs. Hannah Caroline Jean.
Vasilios Achilles Karamitzios. Hannah Frances Kelleher. Alexandra Rose Kennedy. Meredith Elizabeth Kennedy. Joseph Michael Killian. Suzanne Gleason Kilty. Ethan Michael Kimball. Erica Nicole Lampkin. Sean Albert Landry.
Jenna Selena Nicole Lane. Dylan Thomas Evan Lannon. Shannon Marie Lamphere. Thomas Alfred Lapham. Lindsay Jean Laudenslager. Dylan Richard Levitt.
Get the magic clap and everything. You can cry. Go for it.
Congratulations. Nice bow tie.
Nice job. Thank you. Love the bow tie.
Rachel Ann Lees. Anthony Carmine Lentz. Jocelyn Evangeline Leondaris.
Cole William Lojak. Ross Joseph Lojak. Carolyn Ray McDonald. Catherine Lynn McDonald. Travis Clifford Madden. Gianna Elaine Maiori. Kaylee Maloney. Amanda Sky Manganello. Hannah Longfellow March.
Caitlin Margaret McDonough. Jasmine Rose McDougall. Finley David McIsaac. Kyle Andrew McKendry. Evan James McParland. Allison Margaret Moles. Tegan Doris Murray. Emily Patricia Muzzy. Brittany Rose Nelsnick.
Cassidy Wynn. Gwendolyn K. Norton. Sarah Kathleen Norton. Christian Thomas O'Brien. Jillian Catherine O'Neill. Elizabeth Grace O'Doy. William Roger Parsons. Stephen James Particelli. Nicholas Edmund Perrault.
Maya Jane Perry. Brandy Pham. Julia Page Plummer. Lydia Mary Pop. Jillian Fjord Quigley. Patrick Michael Quinn. Isabel Elise McBride Rasmussen. Julia Ann Rennie. Maggie Macaulay Riccio.
Joshua James Rolfe. Austin James Ross. Donna Angelina Ross. Rachel Elise Rowe. Garrett David Savage. Krista Nicole Sawyer. Nathaniel Richardson Smook. Sarah Corinne Scavetta. Sharkey. Corey Peter Sharkey.
Amanda Elizabeth Sheehan. William Emil Sheehan. Derek Michael Shortell. Erica Lynn Samasco. Mackenzie Marie Silverstein. Marley Alexandria Smith. Marissa Jade Sofrin. Sarah Morgan Stackpole. Justin Robert Stanley.
Isabel Rose Steves. Michaela Marie Stone. Jillian Rose Sweeney. Grace May Tanch. Mackenzie Constance Tatro. Abigail Theberge. Matthew Dean Toppy. Emily Michelle Tucker. Rianne Marie Batcher.
Megan Claire Volpone. Chaley Patricia Welch. Casey Alexandra White. Cameron Thomas Willie. Mitchell Andrew Wolpert. Emily Dawn Wood. Mark Anthony Wood. Sadie Charlotte Woodward. Claire Marie Ziviak.
I know, huh?
Thank you all. I now invite the class officers of 2018 to the front of the podium. And before we proceed, I just have one note that after we move our tassels and throw our caps, if we could get our caps back and get to our seats so that the marshals can lead you out at the end of the ceremony. So that would be great. Thank you. And now for the important stuff. And now, as the principal of Triton High School, by the authority granted me by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Triton Regional School Committee, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the graduates of the class of 2018. Now move your tassel from right to left. Please stand and applaud the graduates of the class of 2018 of Triton High School.